As the earth turns, so does my mind. Of silent thoughts I try to hide, piercing my soul, shaking my pride, tearing me down, no hopes inside.
Public Domain was birthed out of, I think, creative frustration because it was at the height of the pandemic. And my friend and collaborator, Katherine, brought the idea to me because we had just done, I guess like everyone during that time, no one was really working and everyone was sort of just figuring out, their world. And so Katherine came to me with this idea to create a project based off of money and intellectual property, based off of money and free clean money. And so we did this collaboration where we were I was playing piano and I was basically reacting to the stuff that she was doing in terms of like, she was taking money and spray painting money, and there was a whole narrative associated with it. And so from that was one idea that we started collaborating on. And then after that, the pandemic happened, and George Floyd died, and there was all this political stuff and happening, and Trump was still president, and it was just, everything was just topsy-turvy. And so as a way to sort of heal ourselves, she brought this idea to me to take songs that are in public domain, because she's been doing all this research about public domain. And so once she did that research, and she brought the ideas to me, and I was like, during this time I hadn't been creating at all. And so I was really enjoying everything that she was saying. I was like, oh, this is cool. And so I was like, well, just come to my house and we'll just start working on it. And she literally came to my house and she's telling me about each song, right? About each, song that's in public domain. So as she's telling me these things, I'm creating the song. So by the time she's done talking about the song, the track is already done. And so we did this. And so all the songs that you have now are songs that were created in less than 20 to 30 minutes, And so the hard part for me was, finding the artists to collaborate with and getting people to come to the studio and, coordinating with everyone. But that's pretty much how it started. When George Floyd died, that was the birth of us creating this work that we're taking these songs that are in public domain, because what we noticed is that all these songs in public domain, the stories are so similar to what's happening now in the world. So we wanted to just show how things really don't change. Things are sort of recycled, you know what I mean? And so hopefully it will be a project that will get people to look at life from a different lens, from a very broad lens, so that we aren't hitting ourselves up against the wall, making the same mistakes over and over and over again, generation after generation. So Katherine and I met through a mutual friend at a Roots picnic in New York, the only one that they had in New York. We met there, kept in contact, and I had she's an artist, so collaborating wasn't something I really thought about. But she came to me with this idea. She was like, "Hey, do you want to work on this idea that I have?" And I was like, "Yeah." In public domain was, when she started talking about it, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." But I work with a lot of different people, and because I'm into like classical and jazz and so many different styles of music, so when people come to me with projects, it's sort of like a really nice challenge, because then I get to use a different part of my brain, but using it in a different way. So the way I make music with Questlove is different from the way I make music with someone like Katherine, So anyway, so it's a wonderful, wonderful meeting of the minds. The idea is to put out an album. So we wanted to put out singles and just to get keep the conversation going. So we have at least 3 more singles coming out over the next couple of months. And yes, there will be an album. we've been talking about touring, yes, but we want to do a museum tour where the collab each song, and we have like all these influential artists, because I feel artists, we're like the storytellers, visually and sonically. So I wanted to create this collaboration with artists from around the world, and and have them create art based off of the music that they hear, and create this installation. So that's the tour that I kind of that I'm envisioning. And Catherine and myself, we've been talking about this. So it's something that we really would love to make happen, to sort of institutionalize public domain, because it's something that I think the conversation can be very interesting, and it could also help change the trajectory of what we're doing as artists, and how people are experiencing art, and the conversations that we're having surrounding art. So as a collective, I think we're very interested in working with artists that want to see a different world, that want to use their art to change the world. So, which is why I've worked with artists who I feel um, are true um, musical agents, in that they're trying to change the world through the music that they're making, and not just they're not like imitating someone else. They're real artists. So for me, the real artists that love and that are passionate about storytelling and connecting with folks, those are the people that I'm interested in collaborating with. So that leaves it open to an enormous amount of people. It would just be a dream to work with Bjork. Every interview I do, I always say that, and it's just I don't know. I think I just love people that that are forward thinkers, and I feel like she's a really forward thinker, and she's still creating music, and she's still creating really interesting art. And I just, I grew up as an artist, so before I was doing music, so I always loved art, music, and mixing the two together. So people that just sort of cross pollinate the arts, to me, are a dream to work with. So I would love to work with Bjork, or even an artist like Pink. You know what I mean? I love Pink. Or even like someone like Adele, or even Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is actually somebody I would really love to collaborate with. Snoop, and some of the young rappers. The Baby. I really like the Baby, and it's just so many cats, and J. Cole, and definitely Kendrick Lamar. You know, actually Kendrick Lamar sampled a song, the first song I ever wrote, The Roots, and produced with The Roots. It's called A Piece of Light. So I sort of worked with him a little bit. I saw him one time at the bar. I was like, yo, Kendrick, you sampled one of my songs. He was like, oh shit. and Amir had no idea. He was like, oh shit. Yeah. Anyway, so there's so many artists that I want to collaborate and work with. I think it's just me having a weird taste for all sorts of music. You know what I mean? And I just love music. So, and whatever the vibe is, I love vibing. So, if I'm working with someone from Brazil, then I'm in that vibe. If working with someone from Japan, then I'm in that vibe. So I'm sort of like a chameleon in that regard. I just love music. Shout out to Fusicology, because you guys do great work. And I saw the record label. Someone shout out my record label. It's called Mr. Goldfinger Music. And it's a new way to collaborate with artists and not have them be they don't have a chokehold. We can just create music and and have fun. So but anyway, shout out to The Roots, obviously. Shout out to Black Thought, because he just he has this play that's incredible called Black No More. So definitely shout out to him and Questlove. They his Summer of Soul, And actually, I would also love to shout out Margaret, who is the director, Margaret Brown, who's the director for this film I just scored called The Descendants. And The Descendants is a film about this community in Africa Town that they can trace their lineage back to Africa. So the last known living slave lived in this town called Africa Town. That's a whole other thing. And Zora Neale Hurston wrote a book about him. So this incredible film that I just scored. There's an amazing story about that. Anyway, so that's